What's good, you beautiful train wrecks? Welcome to Sober Psychology. I'm Michael, a psychologist in training, sober dad, and a guy who's waded through enough bullshit to spot a scam from a mile away. Today, we're tackling really a big one, especially for this channel. We're going to talk about whether or not therapy is a scam. It's that sacred space where you fork over $150 an hour to cry about your boss while some shrink nods like they give a shit. Or are they just milking your wallet? Question mark. It's gonna get spicy. Therapy has a really wild history, from Freud's coke-infused couch sessions to TikTok therapists peddling the healing vibes in 60-second video clips. Some of you swear by it. Others think that it's a con for people who are too weak to handle life. I'm diving deep into where therapy came from, how it evolved through a circus of philosophies, and why pop psychology is often a bigger scam than a bad therapist. This is going to be very raw, it's going to be very real, and it's going to be packed with science from my decades of trauma and alcoholism, and I guess you can call that training, if you will. Anyways, buckle up, because I'm not here to coddle you. I'm here to slap you with the truth and some dark humor just to keep it spicy. By the end of this, you'll know if therapy is worth your time, how to spot a legit shrink, and why those Instagram quotes about manifesting joy are screwing you over. So let's tear this apart. Welcome to the show where we break down the mental health stigma, navigate sobriety with humor, and prove that it's okay to laugh while you heal. Let's get real, let's get honest, and maybe a little weird. Growth is messy, but you don't have to do it alone. This is Sober Psychology. Welcome back, everybody. Another week. Here we are, another episode. We're digging into, this one is not as heavy as some of the content that we've been talking about, but it definitely is something that comes up a lot as I'm on my educational journey to become a licensed therapist and hopefully a psychologist. But is therapy a scam? And I'm going to let y'all know. I'll be transparent with you. I've been on both sides of it, right? I've been on the side where I had a very bad experience with therapy and therapists in general. I've been on the side of it where I've had incredible experiences. And so now, as someone who's going into it, here we are. I'm just going to give you all the truth. I want to preface before we dive into this episode, I am not a therapist.
Shit, ain't no therapist. What's wrong with you?
I'm about to, having a degree, a bachelor's in psychology, means absolutely nothing. It's actually a really worthless degree for all intents and purposes. The master's is where it comes in to play. I've talked about it again and again and again. I don't necessarily agree that you have to have formal education, at least on the collegiate level, in order to have success. There are a lot of degrees that are just complete worthless scams. But I do understand the benefit of it as someone who's training to go into the mental health profession, okay? Again, it's very tough. I navigate this. I try and be as patient as I can while I'm in school, because a lot of what collegiate level education throws at you, I think, is just complete and utter nonsense. I think it all has some ulterior motive to it. I think it's just a scam. Half of this stuff I could learn in a week by doing my own research. But there's the other side of it, that there's a lot of value in this. There's a lot of ways and methods that you learn to be able to communicate with people and help people navigate. You can't just be someone who's experienced life and be 100% proficient at helping people on a clinical level. So I see the benefit, right? But I'm not your stereotypical, like, oh, I have to get this education and I have to, unfortunately, in order for me to become a therapist and a psychologist, I have to get the sheet of paper that I can hang up on my wall that I'm going to have to be paying money back for a decade plus. So this is just a raw, real episode, but I am hypocritical in talking about this because I feel like I can easily fall into the category of pop psychology I am not someone who can sit down with you and charge you $150 an hour for a therapy session. I'm not at all at that level, but I do understand why people do it. And I just want to say that anything that is ever said on this channel, other than when it's coming from my personal experience, most of it is just, you take it with a grain of salt. You can do your own research. Everything that I say on this channel, on these episodes, you can go look up, except for the personal experiences. And really most of that you can look up because I have a criminal record and I have a lot of people you can go talk to that would back up what I'm saying when I tell you how much of a piece of garbage I was back in the day. So all that to say, please don't ever take what I say as being just gospel, right? Like, I am just throwing this out there to get your brain working in a certain direction. I sprinkle in my own experience to help you understand how these concepts and ideas formulate. I try and give you history and knowledge and science and studies behind it. So do with that what you will. But we're going to talk about the history of therapy. We're going to talk about how it progressed into what it is today. And we're going to talk about how you can sniff out whether or not the situation that you're in, whether it be the therapist or the situation in general, whether it's good for you, whether it's going to help or not. I want people to get the most out of therapy because I do think that there's a lot of benefit in it for certain people, not for everybody. I do not think that every single person on the face of the planet needs therapy. I also don't think that therapy is a life sentence. You don't need to lock in with a therapist and do it for 10 years talking about the same issues. You may have one that you work with consistently for years working on different things, but all a therapist is a Sherpa. We're here to give you the tools, right? It's up to you to use them or not. Period. Done. I'm going to step off of that soapbox for a second, and we're going to talk about the fact that 92.6% of you are not subscribed to this channel. You absorb the content and you watch it left and right, and you don't subscribe to the channel. What are you doing? What's going on with you? So all that to say, here's the Brady Bunch for you. Everybody, subscribe. What are you doing watching the content and not subscribe? Help a brother out, okay? I obviously don't monetize much on this channel. I'm not sitting here like thinking that this is, this isn't my job. This is just for fun. It's a journal for me. I have a good time. I had someone in the comments last week tell me not to hang my hat on this. Thanks. I'm not. This is just a fun thing for me to do. But it would be great to have the support so we can get out there to more people. It's a slow progression. We're in the green every week. That's wonderful. But it would help to subscribe. Okay? Anyways, we're going to keep moving on, right? Also, there's a neat little infographic. I'll put it somewhere. You want to put it over here? 92.6% of you are not subscribed, but you're watching the content. Bingo. Told you it was backed by science and proof.
It's science.
I got facts on this channel. Spitting facts left and right. Whatever. Let's just dive into the episode. Michael, why don't we do that? Good idea, family. All right. Part one of this is going to be the wild and weird history of therapy, okay? Some of this is going to be me droning on, but I'm trying to hit y'all with some facts. I did a lot of research on the trailblazers, if you will, for psychotherapy, psychoanalysis. We're going to dig into it. Therapy has been around longer than your uncle's conspiracy theories, and it's just as messy. So let's rewind to the late 1800s with Sigmund Freud, the OG of psychoanalysis. The guy was a chain-smoking, cocaine-snorting Viennese doctor who decided that your childhood and your dreams were the key to your screwed-up head. His big idea? The unconscious mind. Stuff that you don't know that you're thinking. Okay? This, he says, drives your behavior. He'd have you lie on a couch, ramble about your mom, and call it a breakthrough. Was he onto something? Sure, absolutely. The idea that repressed emotions screw you up still holds water to this day, right? But let's be real. Freud was also a nutcase who thought every problem was about sex or your parents. Penis envy? The Oedipus complex? The dude was projecting harder than a drive-in movie theater. All right, it's pretty good one. All right, Freud wasn't just a therapist. He was a showman with a cocaine habit. All right, his talking cure started therapy, but it was less science and more like a rich person's soap opera. If your therapist is still stuck on Freudian bullshit, you're not healing. you're starring in a bad period drama. All right, that's some fact for you. By the early 1900s, Freud's ideas had split the pack, basically. Carl Jung, who was his protege and ended up turning to be his rival, I guess, he pretty much said, screw your sex obsession, Sigmund, and he went full mystic with the archetypes and the collective unconsciousness thing. Jung has got fans, but his stuff is more like Lord of the Rings than lab coat, if you will. Meanwhile, Alfred Adler focused on inferiority complexes and social dynamics. So to put that into layman's terms, I'm trying to be hip right now, but it's less woo-woo and more like you're messed up because you feel like a loser, I guess is the best way to put that. These psychoanalytic offshoots dominated until the 1950s, when they were slow, expensive, and often just intellectual circle jerking. That's pretty much all it was. There's a 1990 study in American Psychologist that estimated that psychoanalysis had a 30 to 40% success rate, which, you know, that's decent, but you could spend years and an absolute fortune to maybe feel less shitty. So those numbers don't really encourage me at all, right? Then came the humanists in the mid 20th century, which was led by Carl Ransom Rogers, our hero, right? He flipped the script with the whole like client-centered therapy mentality, basically saying, hey, maybe the client's not a broken machine. Let's just listen and learn to empathize, right? Rogers' approach was like this warm and fuzzies, you know, kind of mentality. And it was a game changer. Don't get me wrong. There was a 2019 meta-analysis in psychotherapy that showed that empathy-driven therapy boosts outcomes by about 50% across all disorders, every single one, right? So let's not get too cozy, because some therapists took this unconditional positive regard to mean just nod your head and charge them way too much without actually helping, right? And this is why I'm so driven to do what I'm doing, to focus. There are certain things I can't help people with, right? But I can help you when it comes to addiction and recovery. I can help you when it comes to childhood trauma. There's empathy behind it. And I cannot tell you the amount of times that I've experienced a therapist that had zero empathy. Like I've told y'all before, I saw 2 therapists before I went to rehab, and both of those therapists who I spent time with, I let them know me. They were around me, they saw me. They both told me that I wasn't an alcoholic, right? They can't empathize. And most people do that, right? We've talked about this a million times on this channel too. You cannot fully help someone unless you can learn to empathize with them. And how do we empathize with them? You've been through it yourself, right? Not one person for 1 minute on this entire planet has ever walked a day in your shoes or a minute in your shoes. So there's only so much that someone can do to help you. However, if you are like my situation, right? Becoming a new dad last year, and like learning how to be a dad. I have a lot of friends in my life who are dads. Why? Because I just naturally gravitate towards people who have been through what I've been through. They can help me out in ways that you're not going to read on Google, right? They've experienced it. They've seen it, okay? Same thing goes with a therapist. The next time that I am with a therapist, I'm going to make sure that they are a recovered individual, okay? And that they have Christian faith, right? And not because I'm trying to be closed-minded, but it's this idea of like, how can you help me if you haven't experienced what I've experienced? How can you actually help me if you have no clue what I'm saying? You're just going to read it out of the DSM-5 manual and think that you can diagnose me, okay? I digress. We'll move on. The 1960s brought behaviorism. This is courtesy of B.F. Skinner, and we've talked about him on this channel a good bit too. This was therapy as a science experiment, basically. Change behavior, change the mind, right? You could think Pavlov's dogs, but instead of salivating, you're just learning not to panic at a job interview, right? Behaviorism led to cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, and this was in the 1970s. And you could thank Aaron Beck for that one, right? CBT is the gold standard today, mixing thoughts and behaviors to fix your brain's bad wiring. There's a 2018 meta-analysis in Psychological Bulletin that found that CBT is effective, found CBT effective for 60 to 70% of people with anxiety, depression, and PTSD. 60 to 70%. I like those numbers a lot better than 30 to 40, you know what I mean? It's fast, it's structured, and it doesn't require you to talk about your childhood for an entire decade, all right? So fast forward to now, okay? Therapy is a freaking buffet. You've got dialectical therapy, dialectical behavioral therapy, which is DBT, for emotional chaos and acceptance and commitment therapy, right? Or that's for emotional chaos. Then you have acceptance and commitment therapy, which is AC, and that's for living with pain. And there are just a million niche approaches to all of this, right? The American Psychological Association says that 75 million Americans saw a therapist in 2023. But there's this rise of online platforms like BetterHelp and social media therapists, which has turned into just an absolute Wild West, okay? So the history's lesson behind all this, therapy has evolved from Freud's fever dreams to a science-backed tool, but it's only as good as the person wielding it, okay? This is, again, a very tough position for me to work into. I told y'all, if you go look at the very first episode that we ever put on this channel, I told y'all that this is more like a journal for me. This is a way for me to research things and learn on my own, but also start to give you as much as I can give you based on what I'm learning through school, based on what I've experienced in life. I'm not one to hide things. I'm not going to sit here and create this facade and put on this beautiful little mask to make you like therapy or not. I'm just here to help you out however I can. But you get on TikTok and you get on the mental health strain, and there's so many people that are just, and we're going to talk about this in a second, but there's so many people that are just giving bad information in a very pretty package. And that becomes very dangerous if you're someone who is just hanging on to that last thread, right? And it's got a lot of weight on it and it's pulling, it's about to pop, and you start seeing someone who's just giving you all these happy, warm, fuzzy feelings because they're a really good content creator. That sucks. That's not going to be great. And I break down the science for you here in a little bit. That's why this channel is, I don't pay much attention to the analytics of it as far as like the day in and day out. I just kind of post an episode, do my shorts, and back off, right? I'll respond to comments and I read comments, and if someone reaches out to me, I'll be absolutely glad to connect with you. But I don't make trendy stuff. I'm not in the realm where it's, I'm not shaking my ass for you to give me likes. And if I get 300 views on one video and 1.5K on another, okay, great. That's the way it was supposed to happen, but it's become this battle of like, I can say these things. That's a very general topic that can pull on the heartstrings of everybody. And if I do it in a very visually appealing way, I'm going to make money off of it. That's a tough place for mental health, honestly, because I would venture to say that the majority of people who are doing that are not as mentally healthy as they present themselves to be. So here we just focus on raw, honesty, truth, right? Anything that I say on this channel, I can back up with my own life. And anytime that you want to talk about it, I'm willing to have a conversation with you about it, but I'm not going to do it in this real like trendy, pretty, cutesy, let's find out what's going to get the most views kind of way, right? Built a library. That's basically what I'm going for. And it is tough. It's tough. I think there really are good people out there with good wisdom and advice who are not trained therapists, okay? We've talked about Mel Robbins on here, for instance. I don't think she's licensed as a therapist. I don't think she's a psychologist. I don't think that she even has a master's degree in anything to do with mental health. But she's got some really cool ways of looking at things. And I mean, you look back in the day, there were a lot of philosophers that did not have formal educations, right? They just were able to think and see things a different way. I think that's very special. So I'm not sitting here trying to crap on everybody putting out content. It's just really tough to have that level of discernment nowadays, right? Are you going for something that's trendy and that looks good? Are you going for something that is actually offering you real help that's going to last more than just the 60 seconds that you watched it, right? All right, part 2, pop psychology, okay? Therapy's shitty cousin is how we're going to nominate this one, right? So let's just go ahead, talk about the elephant in the room, pop psychology, get it out of the way. You know, those are the Instagram quotes about like healing your inner child, or TikTok therapists telling you to release your trauma for like 60 seconds. That's their little 60-second video. Just release your trauma, right? It's therapy's bastard child, and it's doing more harm than a bad Tinder date. Pop psychology takes real concepts like mindfulness or self-compassion and then turns them into bumper stickers for your soul, right? Bumper stickers for your soul. Boy, let's go. Pop psychology is a scam dressed in yoga pants, okay? Those just breathe memes aren't therapy. They're mental junk food. A 2022 study in Frontiers in Psychology found that oversimplified self-help advice increases anxiety when it fails to deliver, and it fails to deliver a lot. Okay? Stop chasing the quick fixes from influencers who read half of The Power of Now and called themselves gurus. Okay? Take positive thinking, right? It sounds great, except there was a 2019 study in the Journal of Clinical Psychology that showed that forcing positivity can backfire, making you feel worse when you can't manifest your way out of a shitty job. Or how about trauma dumping on social media? That's not healing, it's performative whining, okay? There's a 2021 study in Computers and Human Behavior that linked oversharing online to higher stress and lower self-esteem. Higher stress, lower self-esteem. You don't want either one of those to be pushing those boundaries, right? You're not processing, you're just fishing for likes. That's all you're doing, right? Most of the people that are throwing content out there are just looking for your validation, and then you end up doing the exact same thing. And then when you don't receive validation, you get even more depressed and even more anxious and even more sad. It's funny how that works, right? Pop psychology is dangerous because it promises easy answers. And that's just the core of it all, right? Life's messy, and real therapy, CBT, DBT, ACT, whatever you want to say, you know, it takes a lot of work, right? Pop psychology is like a diet pill, okay? It sounds good, it feels good for a minute, and then it leaves you worse off in the end. If your therapist is selling you affirmations without evidence, they're not professional, they're a hustler. Get so frickin' close to me when I say that to you. If your therapist is selling you affirmations, there you are. If your therapist is selling you affirmations without any type of evidence, they're scamming you. That's a hustler, okay? You cannot have someone receive the affirmations that they receive. You cannot be helping someone navigate through any of this without any type of evidence, okay? And that's maybe hard for a lot of you to hear, and I would understand why that's hard for a lot of you to hear, but there has to be some level of building upon this therapy, right? It can't just be the quick fix. It can't be the quick answer. Give it to me right now. I want to feel good right now. It's the same thing with all of this testosterone crap and all this workout stuff, and I'm doing ice bath. Are there benefits to it? Sure. But at what point are we just chasing dopamine, right? Like, it just gets to be a little ridiculous at a certain point. So I think there just has to be this level of discernment. And I'm not telling you that it's easy. I don't think that it is. But at some point, we have to just get to the point of realizing, like, I'm just chasing the quick fix behind all of this instead of actually doing what I know I need to do. Okay? All right. We're having technical difficulties, so y'all bear with me. Okay, we're back. So let's give therapy a little bit of credit. When it's legit, it's like a personal trainer for your brain. Hard work, but game-changing. There's a 2020 study in The Lancet Psychiatry that found that evidence-based therapies like CBT and interpersonal therapy, it cut depression and anxiety symptoms by 50% or more for most people, okay? I've been there. Sobriety was a knife fight, and therapy gave me the tools to stop stabbing myself, okay? It's not about warm fuzzies. It's about rewiring your head. Okay, therapy is not a magic pill. It's a toolbox, but you've got to use the damn tools. There's a 2019 study in the Journal of Consulting and Clinical Psychology that showed that 80% of therapy's success depends on your effort. Your effort. Okay, stop expecting your therapist to fix you while you sit there like a lump. Do the homework, or you're just burning cash. Right? There has to be full honesty. You have to submit to this process. You can't just comply. CBT is a beast for anxiety and depression, teaching you to catch distorted thoughts like I'm a failure because I got fired, right? DBT, which I think was developed by Marcia Linehan, whatever. That's a lifeline for people with intense emotions or self-harm tendencies, right? There's sometimes that it just hits another threshold and you want to harm yourself. And I get it. That's tough. It's a tough spot to be, right? There's a 2021 study in behavior therapy that found that DBT reduces self-harm by 60%. And then there's ACT. All these freaking acronyms, man, it makes me not want to go into psychology. But then there's ACT, which helps you live with pain instead of fighting it. Okay, this is a lot of your PTSD people will be in this category, right? They're gonna be looking at more of this ACT kind of style of therapy. These aren't scams. They're backed by decades of research, okay? Therapy can also teach you practical shit, like how to set boundaries, talk to your partner, or stop being a doormat, right? It's not just for crazy people. It's for anyone who wants to suck less at life, right? There's massive benefit to all of it, but it all comes down to how much are you putting in. A therapist can only help you out based on what they know of you. And that what they know of you is what you're telling them, right? They're going to pick up and learn, and as you go and as you build that relationship, they'll be able to understand a little bit more. But if you go into a therapist's office and you're just lying through your teeth because you're worried about this image management aspect of it, a therapist is only going to help you based on what you're telling them, right? A therapist's job is not just to sit there and call you out for your lies. A therapist's job is to take what you're telling them and say, okay, let's figure out some tools that we can use to better navigate this. And if all you're doing is lying to them, and then therapy magically is not working for you, do you really think it's the therapist's fault? Question mark. Anyways, part 4 of this is the bad, okay? This is when therapy is an absolute ripoff, okay? This is the dark side. Therapy can absolutely be a scam. And I'm not here to bullshit you, okay? Some therapists are just professional listeners charging $200 an hour to nod while you vent. There's a 2017 study in psychotherapy research that found that 20% of therapists lack training in evidence-based practices. That sucks, okay? That's 1 in 5 shrinks just making it up as they go, like a bartender mixing cocktails with no recipe. That is freaking terrifying. If your therapist is giving you follow your heart vibes or pushing essential oils, you're not in therapy, you're in a scam. You're right in the middle of it, okay? Demanding evidence-based methods like CBT or DBT, or just paying, or doing that, or you're just paying for a hug that you could have gotten from your dog, right? Run from anyone who can't explain their approach in plain English. There are a lot of licensed therapists, there are a lot of PhD people for sure, who are hyper arrogant when it comes to their education. Hyper arrogant. And if you question what practices that they use, what their approach is to their practice in general, they'll get offended. And they'll either talk in circles or they'll backtrack, or if that happens, you need to leave immediately. A confident therapist, one who knows, hey, I'm educating myself every single day in this. I've put in a lot of money, time, effort into making sure that I can help you. Those are the ones that are going to be like, okay, I can tell you what my approach is. And that really should be the first meeting that you two have. It's all about getting to know each other. Like, hey, here, I'm Michael. Here's my approach to all of this. Like, I'm going to be the therapist that's like, I am not here to coddle you. I'm sorry. I won't coddle you. I'll give you the hard truth. And I'm going to give you that truth because I'm going to care about you, and I'm going to care about the outcome. And I'll tell you where it comes from. You know, I'm influenced a lot by Jungian theory. I'm influenced a little bit by Freudian theory. Like, I mean, I'll be able to talk to you about where I'm approaching all of this. And if a therapist won't do that with you, you need to get the hell out of there immediately, right? And then let's talk about the money, because money is another issue. Therapy is outrageously pricey, $100 to $300 a session, and that's per the Alliance of Mental Illness. But insurance barely covers it half of the time, and good luck finding a decent therapist who actually takes insurance. Online platforms like BetterHelp, it's convenient, but the 2022 Consumer Report investigation found that spotty quality and privacy concerns run rampant in BetterHelp and other online sources, right? You might be bearing your soul to someone who's not even licensed. That's pretty scary, right? Worst of all, bad therapy can actually hurt you, right? There's a 2018 study in Clinical Psychology Review that showed that ineffective or unethical therapists can worsen symptoms, especially in trauma cases. It's the last thing you need if you're dealing with some heavy, intense trauma, right? Have you ever had a therapist push you to forgive your abuser way too soon or just sit there like a potted plant? That's not help, that's harm, right? A therapist should know, okay, this needs some time to breathe. You've got to work through some things before you approach this because you're going right into the battle lines here, okay? We got to do this the right way. You're not looking for the quick fix if you're going to therapy, right? You need to go into it thinking, I need to build resilience. I need to start working on things. And a therapist should give you a lot of these tools, right? I need you to start journaling. I need you to start working on this thing. We're gonna set this little practice up, and I want you to do it every day for a week until you come back and talk to me and tell me what the results are. All they're doing is trying to help you navigate and feel out where you're at to get you to a point where you can better tackle the hard stuff, okay? Instead of crashing and burning. All right. If you have a therapist that's pushing too much, you have a therapist that's like, you need to just go and forgive them. Hey, get out, leave, go, bye, see ya. All right. That's not empathy. That's a therapist just trying to have a messiah complex, which a lot of us have. Sorry. Part 5. And I think this is the final part of this, but we're gonna talk about how to make therapy work or absolutely know when to bail out. Okay. How do you avoid getting screwed in therapy? Right. Step 1. Vet your therapist like you're hiring a hitman. Check credentials, LPC, LC, SW, PhD. Ask about their training, okay? If they dodge or they talk in circles, bounce, get out, see ya, bye. There's a 2020 study in psychotherapy that found that a strong therapist-client fit, which shared goals and trust, that's what I would consider a strong therapist-client fit, that's gonna drive better outcomes by outrageous numbers. Okay? Don't be afraid to fire your therapists. If they're not helping, they're just a leech with a degree. I said it, okay? You wouldn't keep a dentist if they drilled the wrong tooth. So why stick with a shrink who makes you feel like crap, okay? Therapy is a partnership. It's not a prison sentence. You can leave when you need to. Got me? Step 2, show up and work. I cannot emphasize this enough. Show up and work. Therapy is not a freaking spa day. It's a gym. Okay, there's a 2019 study in the Journal of Clinical Psychology that found that clients who engage, which like journaling, practicing skills, being honest, they see results much, 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 much faster. Okay? Don't just dump your feelings and leave, right? Apply what you learned, right? It's the same thing as the gym. Like if I want a certain look, if I want to get stronger, if I want to sculpt my body, right? If I think that I'm just going to show up and I'm going to move some dumbbells from one side of the room to the next, and then I'm pissed that I'm not seeing results, what are we doing, right? I got to go every day or 3 days a week at least. Be consistent with it. Have a lot of intent behind my workouts. I want to see these results. I got to work on the squeeze. I can't just flail weight around. I got to work on the squeeze. I got to figure out how to have the mind to muscle connection. Like all of these things are hyper important when I'm going to work out. The same thing applies with therapy. Go into it not thinking that I'm just going to cry to someone and then walk out. No, I want to go in and I'm going to pour my heart out. And I'm going to be honest with you. And then whatever you tell me that you think I can do to work on it, I'm gonna start doing it. I'm gonna apply it. If it doesn't work, okay, I'll come back to you and be honest about it, and then we'll try something else, okay? But you gotta put in the work. You have to. Step 3, final step, set an exit strategy. Therapy is not a lifelong subscription, okay? There was a 2021 study in American Psychologist that says that most people see major gains in about 12 to 20 sessions, okay? 12 to 20, you can do it. I promise you, but you got to put in the work behind it, right? If you're still crying about the same shit after 2 years, either your therapist sucks or you're not doing the work. Plain and simple, right? If therapy's not your thing, try support groups, books, or even like a trusted friend, right? Find your little community, okay? Just steer clear of the TikTok therapists promising to fix your life in 15 seconds. You know, like that's just so freaking stupid. Or I've got this little pamphlet that you could buy for X amount of dollars, and I promise you, it's backed by science. It's not. It's really not. You know, they're just there making money off of your feelings. That's all they're doing, which can be argued that that's what therapists do in general. But a good therapist is going to offer you a solution. A good therapist is going to give you the tools to be able to crawl out of the trenches that you're in. okay? And oftentimes a good therapist will be, I'll tell you what, a good therapist is going to struggle a lot with empathy, okay? That is one thing that I've told my wife multiple times. I'm so scared of it because when people come to me and they're talking to me about what they're dealing with, I have a very hard time being analytical in that situation. I feel what you're feeling and I hurt for you, and then I end up feeling so exhausted by the end of it because I'm just hurting with you. I'm hurting for you. I may not be a great therapist, but I'm kind of the mentality of like, if you're in the trenches and I'm here to help you out, I'm not going to throw you a ladder. I'm going to jump down in the trenches with you and we're going to figure out how to get out together, right? A lot of people will sit there and, they'll be flying around in their little rescue chopper and throw you a rope ladder and be like, okay, grab it if you can. It's like, you're stuck in the trenches, I want to be down there with you. I want to get dirty too. I want to figure this out with you. Whatever. Anyways, to conclude all of this, therapy is absolutely not a scam, but it's not a miracle either, okay? It's come a long way from Freud's coke binges to CBT's data-driven wins, but it's only as good as the therapist and the effort that you are going to put in or not put in, right? Pop psychology, though, that's the real con. Selling you quick fixes and feel-good quotes that leave you worse off than before. I've been through the ringer, all right? Addiction, rock bottom, trauma, the whole shit show, and therapy absolutely has helped, but only because I fought for it, because there have absolutely been times where it didn't help. It made things a lot worse, right? You deserve a life that doesn't feel like a constant scam. So whether it's therapy or something else, find what works and just fully commit to it, okay? So here's your challenge. If you're in therapy, just ask, is this actually moving the needle at all? And if not, talk to your therapist or find a new one, right? Whatever you need to do. If you're not in therapy, pick one thing, like journaling or talking to a friend. Meditate, learn how to meditate. I had no clue how to meditate until I did, and it's fantastic, right? I don't have to sit on the top of a mountain, and I don't have to have essential oils and all of the smell good stuff, incense and whatnot, but like learning how to meditate, For me, it was getting closer with God. For me, it was leaning more into the fact that God exists and I'm not God, right? And the majority, pretty much all of the bad things that have happened in my life have been a direct result of me trying to run away from God and ignore what I know to be truth and faith. And that changes everything. Find your thing and commit to it, okay? Thanks for rocking with Sober Psychology. If this episode hit you, smash the like button, subscribe, and share it with someone who's been burned by a bad shrink or probably needs to push to try to therapy. You know what I mean? Drop a comment. What's your therapy win or horror story? Okay, I'm going to read every single one, I promise you. Let's keep it real. I'm Michael. I'll catch you next time. Spotify people, we'll see you next week. YouTube warriors, thank y'all. Y'all are just, I can't thank you enough, man. YouTube's taking off. But stay sober, stay real, and keep fighting. Keep your head up, keep your heart open, and go help somebody. Love you guys.